Welcome to the Kingsview Model Railway channel. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 tools you need to help you make your model railway a total success. And no, it's a lot more than just a paintbrush. Well, tool number one on our list is the NMRA standards gauge. Now this gauge is something that you can buy from your local hobby shop. You can see here it's called standards gauge, HO scale Mark IV in this particular case. But this is the Bible by which you use to measure everything on your layout and on your rolling stock. Around the edge there are all of these markings. See here, no-go, that means when you measure something, this shows the slackness that you need between your tracks. You've got flangeways, you've got wheels, and you've also got track as well. So to gauge my track, I can just slip that in there and you can see that the two little points, if that's a nice tight fit between those 2 points there, like that, see the nice two points there, you'll find that your track is in gauge. And also you can check by using the gauge, just simply put it straight down onto your track like that and you can check if your track is in gauge. Now 95% of all derailments that happen on your model railway will be because of somewhere something is out of gauge. It'll either be a wheel set on a bogie, a wheel flange will be hitting something, but more than likely something is out of gauge. So the second part of this tool is one of these little tools that I got from DCC Concepts. So where do you use this little tool? Well, quite simply, when you've got a wagon or some bogies, you can use this simple little tool to check to see if your wheels are in gauge. Simply slip that little tool in between the track. Now you can see here there is a little bit of play between, I'll just make it a bit easier for you to see, there's a little bit of play between the gauge and the inside of the flanges. Now in this case what I would need to do is pull this wheel set out and just give it a squeeze so that there is not very much play. So we'll just check the other side here. Just slop that in, and that one's got a little bit of play as well. Now that is something that could contribute. That's something that could contribute to whether your rolling stock will run through points and around curves properly. Because making sure that the distance between these two flanges on your wheels is in gauge is the most important thing to getting your rolling stock to running properly on your railway. So we can use this little gauge, or we can use the NMRA standards gauge. I can now fit the standards gauge between, and I can see that it's pretty right. It's probably within about 1/4 of a millimetre of being absolutely right. In this case, I probably don't have to do much of an adjustment. This one might need a little bit of an adjustment, but you can see here that if they fit between there, then they are most likely in gauge. A little bit of fine tuning here, but not very much to do at all. So that's our summary of our number one tool. One of these, and if you can get yourself one of these from DCC Concepts, these are in, I purchased this in England and had it sent out to Australia. But combination of this tool and checking all of the flanges on your, the distance between the wheel sets on all of your rolling stock and locomotives will make all the difference to the running on your layout. Tool number two is a KD coupler gauge. Now you can buy these on the internet, most hobby shops have got them. These are a little gauge that sit on your track with a correct height KD coupling. Now I use KD couplings on the Kingsview Model Railway. I find them to be prototypical. Most of the models that I purchase have got KD couplings on them, but they don't always come and they're not always at perfect height. So this gauge will determine of whether your KD couplings are at the right height. So to give you an example, I've got a wagon here, I can just bring it along and it'll just couple straight on. Well, if I hold it, it will. just couple straight on like that. And you can see that the height is the correct height. Now, KD make a number of variants of KD couplings so that you can have couplers that are higher and couplers that are lower, but fit into the standard coupler box that is fitted onto the back of your wagon, your locomotive, rolling stock, whatever. But that's a very important tool for you to have in your arsenal to keep your model railways going. Every time I buy new rolling stock, a new locomotive like this one here, or rolling stock, I always check it up against the gauge. We put that there, run this loco along, see how it goes, and we can just plug it straight in. Now I can see this loco is a little bit low, so in reality I can get a coupler and lift the height of this one up. So the other point here is a second part of this tool here is I believe that you should have not only this little gauge here that helps you determine the height, but you need one of these KD pliers. Now these have a rounded section on here to be able to control the curve of the brake hose, that's what this pin is here. It's used obviously for this pin here is used to magnetically work for coupling and uncoupling, but it also stimulates the brake hose on modern locomotives. But sometimes these pins here need to be adjusted, and that's a simple job of being able to put your pliers in like here into the section here, and be able to give that a squeeze or give it a twist, and when you give that a squeeze, it will bend the coupling up and make it either a little bit higher to keep it off the track. So again, this is a summary of our number 2 most used tool, which is the coupling height and these KD couplers tool pliers. And if you use these 2 tools together, then you'll find that all of your KDs are at the same height, and that your trains will always stay coupled and will run well. Next tool, of course, is probably one of the most controversial tools that you have to look after your model railway, and that's track cleaners. Now, I've assembled 3 different ones here. This is a Markland one here. This one here is a Pico one, and this is a DCC Concepts one. You can see here, I'll turn it over onto the dirty side. Each one of these has its own merits. Now, I've done a separate video on track cleaning, which was pretty popular before, and there's a lot of controversy about track cleaning and the merits of using abrasive type rubbers on this track. Now, without going over the old video, my argument with all of these is that manufacturers make these tools, and they're not going to make them that aggressive that they're going to wear out your track and that you're going to need new track in 2 years' time. It's just not going to happen. Now, I'm part of a model railway club. We've got track that's been down for 25 years, and it's been cleaned with one of these Pico rubbers every week for 25 years, and there's trains running around, and there are no problems with those trains at all. Now, which one of these are my preference? I have to say I'm very, very fond of the new DCC Concepts track rubber. This one is a solid block of rubber impregnated with aluminium oxide. Now, aluminium oxide is softer than nickel, which means that any deposits are on the top of this track, and you can see here I've got a deposit of paint along here, which this is my weathering track that I use for weathering. Any deposits can be easily got off with something like a Pico rubber. So if I give that a good scrub, you can see it coming clear there. But I've really got to scrub it to get it off. Now, in reality, that's only a very light coat of paint, so that shows the aggressiveness of one of these rubbers. You can see that I've even worn a groove in there. I might have to use something a little bit more aggressive to get that paint off. So while this might look super aggressive and it's got nice sparkles all over it from the grit that's in it, it's not that aggressive at all. And this particular rubber is even less aggressive. I'm tending to use this one more because it's a little bit wider, even though this one's a similar width. This one's got a little bit more purchase, so that when you're cleaning it on your tracks, you can actually get a hold of it with your fingers and give it a very, very light rub, and that will bring your track right back to its glistening newness. And I find that that's all that the track needs. Now it looks very dirty there, but I gave it a once over fairly recently. I haven't used it for a while since, but quite easy to give a clean. And how do I clean this? I actually use, strangely enough, a Dremel tool to give these a clean. So I'll just show you how we do that. Now I do suggest that you use some kind of face protection or eye protection to do this, but just quickly, I've got a Dremel tool here, and then I can just give the rubber a quick clean. Oops, without it jumping around. I just might do that like this. Oops. You can see there that just by using the Dremel, bit hard to see, but you can see the difference there now. Just by using a Dremel tool, just by using the Dremel there, you can see the difference in the rubber. Got it from being quite dirty to quite clean. So a simple Dremel will also clean up your tools. Clean up your rubber, so that it's you can see how much dirt and grit that you're getting off. Dirt that you're getting off your track. Now you may be still laying track or about to lay track on your layout. Now cutting track like this can be quite difficult. Now you can use a hacksaw, you can use all kind of saws, but getting a good clean cut can be really difficult. So my next tool on the list are track pliers. Now these track pliers are designed specifically to cut track at the correct angle, which is at 90 degrees. So to cut the track, you simply line the tool up like this. I might hold it that way so you can see. You can get it exactly at the correct angle. Give it a squeeze like that, and give it a squeeze on this side, and bang, you can see the cut's been cut, the track's been cut, and it gives a nice clean cut. With a little bit of a file, just clean that up, and you'll find that your fish plates will go straight in. But these tools are invaluable to getting an accurate cut, because what happens too is that when you're laying your track, you'll find that you'll put your track along and you might be joining points at each end, and you really need to mark, and I usually use a solid marker to mark where I need to cut, and I usually then take maybe 1 millimetre off that length and then use the track pliers then to cut the track. Give it a clean up with a small file, and you'll find that your fish plates will go straight on. And that also then allows a little bit of room for expansion with your track, because the temperatures will go up and down in your train room, and if you butt these joints up when you're doing your track, if you butt these up using fish plates and you've got no gaps between the track at all when you lay your track, you'll find that if it gets a bit warmer in your room, you'll find that your track will buckle, and you'll have all sorts of running problems. So always leave just a little bit of a gap. I like to use somewhere between 0.5 and 1 millimetre, and that'll also mean too, when your rolling stock runs over it, you get a nice clickety-clack sound, just like the real thing. Okay, we're going to come to one of the most versatile tools that you use on any model railroad construction and ongoing maintenance, and that is the Dremel. Now this particular Dremel here, this is a Dremel Micro. I don't know that you can still buy these. I bought this one 5 years ago. Had a little bit of trouble with the battery in it, but otherwise it's been pretty good. The reason I like it is because you can just hold it in your hand, and you can cut you can cut here at 90 degrees with it. Now I use both of these Dremels quite a bit. This one here's got a wire brush. We saw that being used just a little bit before, but I use wire brushes a lot on the layout for cleaning all sorts of things. Now I went onto eBay and I got myself like a box full of wire brushes for like $10. So you can get plenty of components for Dremels. There's thousands of attachments that you can get, and they work really, really well. They have a battery cradle, and the unit just sits in the battery cradle. But these are an essential tool that you need to build your model railway, because you need to cut things all the time. You need to cut things with fine tolerances. This particular Dremel is fitted with a diamond blade. I find these are particularly good. Yet another tool that you can get, another blade that you can get off eBay, and they work pretty good. So we'll just, we've got a piece of track here, and I'll just give you a quick demo of how easy it is to use. We'll spin it up like that, and we'll just cut the end off this track. Oops. Now we'll just give it a bit more speed, like that. That'll cut a bit better this time. Oops. Right. So you'll see that it stopped a couple of times there, it gets caught on the sleeper, but in reality that's all cut through. I can just bend it and easily snap it off. I could have just drilled through there, but obviously you need a blade to cut through the sleeper at the back here. But Dremel tools are fantastic for cleaning up, cutting, and doing all sorts of modelling on your layout. Thoroughly recommend them. These two have been very, very good. You'll get all day out of them once you've charged them up, but particularly the wire brush, it's such a good tool for cleaning up. So you can see this track here has got a bit of ballast on it, and you can just easily clean it up, just with a wire brush, and get it back to normal. So certainly it's really good. And I even use a finer wire brush like this actually to clean my loco wheels, and I find that that's a very fast way to clean wheels. Just be careful that if you do use one of these wire brushes for cleaning loco wheels, that you're not too aggressive with it, because it's very easy to take all the plating off the wheels, the nickel plating that might be on your wheels. So just be careful using these tools, and always wear eyewear when you're using these, because tiny little bits of fragments of steel go flying around, and you don't need them in your eyes if you can possibly avoid it. Okay, I can just see you all saying now, what in the hell is this contraption here? Well, this is a multi-tool that you can purchase from your local electronics store. That is the third set of hands that you need when you're soldering things, or you're gluing something, or just trying to get something a little bit more steadier. As we get older, our fingers get, we get the shakes, and all sorts of things start to happen. And sometimes you need something just to hold a wire, or something that you need to solder. This particular unit comes with a magnifying glass, so you can actually see your work. So you can bring it down and actually magnify your work as well. It's got a light in it as well, so you can switch that on and lights up the work a little bit more, so you can see what you're doing. But how it works quite easily, I'll just move that up a little bit here. You've got these adjustable arms, and you've also got a big adjustable arm here. So where it is handy is, if you're soldering some wires, I'm just giving you an example here. I might want to solder this wire onto this other wire here. It makes it a lot easier to be able to just heat your wire up, and then drop this wire straight on and solder it, and having the little arm hold it for you there makes it a lot easier. So I thoroughly recommend one of these types of tools. I've used it plenty of times when I was wiring up point motors, and finicky work where you need to solder two wires together, or you need something held while you solder something on. And it's really good too, because it's made out of metal, it'll actually conduct some heat away. So if you've got a tube or a circuit board, something that you want to solder some wires onto, and if you haven't got a magnifier, then you can use the magnifier so that you can see your work. But again, thoroughly recommend one of these units. I'd be lost without it on the workbench. The other good thing with this too is that you can use this if you're working on locomotives, if you're working on wheels or fine contacts. It does give you that ability to be able to see your work a bit better. A multimeter. Now, this is only a fairly cheap one, again from that local electronics hobby shop. You can get a pretty good one of these for $20, or as much money as you want to spend. This one does current, it does voltage, does AC, DC. It has a big digital display, so it's really easy to see. And without this, you can't really diagnose your railway at all. And sometimes you can't work out why something is going or why you've got a short circuit. Tools like this make it really easy for you to be able to determine. Now, you don't need much electrical knowledge to work out how these work. Trains, if they're running on DC, run somewhere between 12 and 14 volts DC. On DCC, somewhere between 13 and 16 volts AC. It's quite easy to measure. So we'll give you a little example. I'll just turn on my power supply over here, and I'll just prop this up with this wire here to make it easy to see. And if I just stick the probes in here, we'll be able to see what voltage we're getting out of this unit here. We can see here we're getting, oops, plug that in properly. Well, that we're getting 14 volts, give or take, a little bit, 13.8, 14 volts. So you can see here, that's the supply that's going up to the Digitrax unit here. But without one of these tools, you really can't diagnose your railway properly. You can detect whether you've got any short circuits. You can also check for continuity as well. So continuity means that you can check that a wire between each end of the wire has actually got an electrical circuit going through it, and sometimes that will tell whether you've got a short circuit or not. So again, one of these cheap multimeters is an absolutely essential tool on your workbench to be able to keep not only your locomotives and your rolling stock free from short circuits, but also to check that you've actually got track voltage. It's also good too to check whether you're getting any low voltage around your track, and that is a common problem if you haven't got enough droppers down from your track running onto your bus wire. You may have some low voltage, and that might impede the performance of your trains running around your layout. But certainly I thoroughly recommend that you get yourself a simple big screen digital thermometer, easy to read and easy to see when you're down underneath the layout or on the top checking your voltages. The next invaluable tool is a head-mounted magnifying set. Now, this particular one has got adjustable pieces. These pieces here come unclipped, and in the box you get about 10 or 15 different magnifications. It also has a light on the top so that when you're looking at your work, you can see what you're doing. I find this invaluable, and it's good too for people like me that wear glasses when I'm working. You can see that fine detail when you're working, and it's the fine detail that makes all the difference on a model railroad. So I thoroughly recommend you get yourself a head-mounted magnifier, which means that your hands are then free to be able to work while you're getting a nice magnified view of the work that you're working on. And these are fully adjustable. Again, you can buy these on eBay for $30–40. They're not that expensive, but certainly I fully recommend a head-mounted magnifying system to make it a lot easier to see the work that you're working on when you're doing your fine modelling and doing those repairs to your locomotives and your rolling stock. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not an ad for Dyson, but the next best, the last tool in our list, tool number 10, is a Dyson vacuum cleaner. Now, why Dyson? Because these have got the best suck. There are a lot of brands out there, you can buy all sorts of different brands, but I've found on my model railway that this brand delivers the best result. It also comes with a multitude of tools and extension pieces that make it easy to clean the layout when you can't reach. So I've got nearly a 1.5 metre extension on this, which means I can get to the other side of the layout and reach those hard to get to points. But importantly, it's got enough suck that it will lift all the fine bits of stuff that accumulates all over your layout. Now, I generally vacuum my layout once a month, and you would be surprised. The stuff you can see here, all of this stuff is from the last vacuum. Now, there's all little bits of scenery and little bits of ballast and all sorts of stuff. Now, you'd say, well, given that I've glued everything down, why do I have all this stuff? Well, the very notion of trains running around your layout does loosen off ballast. It does loosen off parts of your scenery. And That is what you don't want in your locomotives and your rolling stock. Is you don't want the magnetic effect of wheels turning on your track and picking up bits of ballast, picking up fine bits of wire, and picking up thumbtacks, not thumbtacks, but track tacks and whatever. And particularly after you've had a modelling session, after you've been doing some modelling, you really need to go over your layout very finely with a very good quality vacuum cleaner. These aren't cheap, they're in the $400 to $500 bracket. They're not cheap, but I believe a Dyson vacuum cleaner is an essential tool on a model railway. They get a beating. This one is 5 years old, hasn't missed a beat. Comes with a charging stand and a number of accessories. But again, another tool I thoroughly recommend to keep your layout clean. I find that they've just got the most amount of power. I've tried other ones, you don't get long battery life. These ones, particularly when you're doing scenery, you can be doing a lot of vacuuming. It might be for 15 minutes at a time or 20 minutes at a time when you're vacuuming. The Dyson is going to do the job. So fully recommend one of these units. And that pretty well concludes the tools that you need. Now look, I've got lots of other tools around the layout, but if I had to pick 10 essential tools, these are the tools that we've just run through that I would recommend for your layout. But as you build your layout, you'll amass a lot more tools, particularly small screwdrivers, small pairs of pliers, needle nose pliers, cutters, all sorts of tools. You'll end up having a tool arsenal on your hands. But the most essential tools, we've run through, track cutting, gauges, magnifiers, Dremels, and those kind of tools are an integral part of your modelling, and I thoroughly recommend all of those tools for you to use on your model railway. So till next time, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please subscribe or like this video, and we hope you have enjoyed this video.
One eternity later.